Yes, please. So here's
Yep,
today's
please.
agenda. Yeah, drum roll. All right. So we're going to be reviewing the immune and lymph system anatomy and physiology and all its working parts. Then we're going to really get into protocols. Like Colleen said, we're going to show you those bundles and with suggestions for common lymph discomforts and what formulas can be used to support a healthy immune system and lymphatic system. And then we're finally going to discuss, we'll round this all out with some discussions on fasting and a few more helpful therapeutic activities
Mhm.
for the lymph system. So are y'all ready? Let's
I
go.
am.
Yeah,
Let's go.
this is fun
All
system. Let's go.
right. It really is. Well, it encompasses two systems essentially. The immune system,
Yes.
which the lymphatic system is just a part of, although it is so incredible and it's one of our big detoxifying systems. That's why we love it so much here at Dr. Morse's. So before we dive into the heady stuff with the anatomy and physiology, let's just take a moment to appreciate what the system is doing for us in this moment and on the bigger picture of seasonality and how to support this system. We have made it to spring. Happy spring equinox,
Woo.
everyone. The returning of the sun, rebirth. This is the young child is the image that comes up for me, the birth of the new life. You've had all of winter to incubate and think about what served you and let things go. And hopefully you've got a pretty solid idea of what you want to break forth and bloom with this spring. All the flowers are blooming outside. It's so pretty. And so we're just here to support you in that vision as well, right? Just shed all the stuff that doesn't serve you. And we've been hibernating all winter. We've potentially not been as on it with our detox protocols, which is totally fine. We give you that pass because it's hard in winter. We already have a lot of seasonal sadness that comes up for us. It's not necessary to be hard on ourselves with one more thing that we're just not doing. But now that spring is here, we're re-energized, the sun is out, it's time to check out some cleansing and some detoxifying. And the lymphatic system is just the perfect system to really look at to support that movement that stagnation that's built up over winter. And the flavor of winter or the flavor of spring is sour. And the liver and the gallbladder are the organs. We're going to talk about those more next month because next month is digestion. That's
Yeah.
the webinar we'll be doing. And so sour is a really interesting flavor to bring in. We're actually talking about a couple of different fasting protocols that includes the sour flavor. And that's really good at kind of supporting the activation of the liver gallbladder and that eliminatory channel. And then we have the picture here of a depiction of a Joan of Arc, I like to think. And this is all about the immune system. This is reminding you that your physical body, the actual physical embodiment of your spirit that you walk around with every day is designed in its physicality to protect you. And that is the first barrier function of your immune system. Right there, just the fact that you have a impenetrable shell around your body and it's acidic on top of that, that is your protection, that is your armor. So supporting your skin, keeping it healthy, giving yourself love and gratitude for the body that holds all that is you, which is a lot. We all have a lot going on inside. Yeah, and so just honoring that and this armor. And don't forget that even though you might not feel it sometimes, you have that armor. Your immune system is protecting you every day. And we'll talk about that more in just a minute. But then Jen's going to give you some specific Dr. Morse perspective now.
Sure. Yeah, because like you said, spring really is a season for fresh starts, new beginnings.
Mhm.
When, it's March. We're almost in April, honestly. And,
Unreal.
many of us, our resolutions, our intentions since the new year have maybe waned, or life's happened. Things change. This is a good time to really consider renewing our commitment to our health, to ourselves, with the seasonal changes. It's kind of just a natural flow, and we naturally embrace that shift to warmer weather, pleasant days once winter is over, no matter where you're at. So it's a natural thing to shed that weight, like you were saying, whether
Mhm.
it's physical or after holidays, or just even some
Mhm.
emotional or mental burdens.
Emotional.
This is the time to really cleanse. So we began our series with the kidneys and the importance of
Mhm.
elimination. So now's the next step. Now we review the lymph system and how amazingly efficient it is. And like Colleen said, just protecting it and also that lymph flow and managing that waste and elimination to keep our bodies balanced and healthy. So we're going to dive in now to that A&P and look a little bit more closely at the immune system and the lymphatic system.
Yes. Very fascinating kind of global all over the body. There's no specific spot. Immune is everywhere. So yeah, we're going into the anatomy and physiology now, and we'll let Jenn start us off with what is the immune system? What encompasses it?
Yes.
Really
Well,
quick,
like that
guys,
armor.
sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
but we don't
Yeah.
have the screen up, so nobody can see what you guys are looking at. We just see you guys.
We don't have a screen up?
No PowerPoint. No, we don't see the PowerPoint. We just see
Oh,
Oh,
you
I'm
guys.
so
So nobody
sorry.
can. That's okay. Thank
All
you.
right, let's fix it.
hi.
That's going to take me a minute. That's Stephanie, everybody. Whoop, whoop.
Yes,
Yep.
hi.
Hi,
Thank
Stephanie.
you. Oh,
All
perfect.
right.
Now we see it.
Woo. Okay.
Okay, but is it the right
Awesome.
one? That's the question. Let me just double check here. Nope, not the main screen, screen 2. Okay.
Perfect. Yep.
Whew.
It's zoomed in. Thank
Y'all
you.
want to look at the slides you missed?
Yeah.
This is the beautiful picture of the Joan of Arc character. So just want to show you
Yes.
that.
Yes. So there's
Sorry
that
about that.
armor. Absolutely.
There's so many elements to getting these webinars launched every time, and Jenn and I and our small crew do all the work. So
We're
thank you for
human.
bearing with us. Exactly.
It's all good. Yeah. All right. So yeah, no, we didn't lose too much time. We'll just jump right into the lymphatic system. And yeah, the body's naturally designed to protect itself and, also offer elimination. So right now we're going to talk about protection through the immune system. And the immune system is a complex network of cells, tissues, organs distributed throughout the body. And that protection comes in multiple forms. Like Colleen mentioned, our skin, it's through immune cells and also mucus, acids, enzymes. And we say mucus because that mucus you experience when you're starting to feel ill. It's a natural immune response. We don't want to suppress it. It's the body's way of protecting our mucosal tissues from toxins and pathogens. So, that's what a lot of these herbal protocols and these diets are about. You want to enhance your body's natural immune response. Just go with it and do some spring cleaning. So, yep. And we'll talk about on the next slide a little bit of the lymphatic system. And Dr. Morse refers to this as the sewer system of the body because it's collecting waste for removal. And in a moment, Colleen's going to dive more into the lymph system and the lymph fluid. But just as an overview, it produces immune cells. All right, it transports them and it houses these immune cells in the lymph nodes and the organs. So what organs? So let's go through a few of those right now. We have the thymus gland, okay, and we're gonna, Colleen's gonna go over a therapeutic later at the end of the presentation with this, but this gland is important in the maturation of T cells, and they're a part of a class of lymphocytes, these T cells, called natural killer cells that are the source of cell-mediated immunity. And then we've got our red bone marrow that plays a critical role in producing various immune cells, including white blood cells, which are leukocytes, and they're essential for immune function. So healthy bones equals healthy immune cell production.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got a few more organs here. We've got the spleen. It filters blood, removes old and damaged red blood cells, stores immune cells, and it also produces antibodies and initiates immune responses. Tonsils, they're the first line of defense against germs that enter through the nose or mouth. They contain white blood cells that kill germs and produce antibodies as part of the immune response. They also have a role in protecting the body from pathogens that impact that upper respiratory tract. And then the adenoid gland, and this is predominantly in kiddos because by the time you reach adulthood, it's basically completely gone. It's a patch of lymphoid tissue at the back of the nasal passage, and as adults, it's gone. But it's very important for kids and part of their immune response.
As we know, they just are constantly sick.
Yes, absolutely. They love passing stuff on to us. They're so loving little kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so sweet.
Yes,
germ sharers.
Yep. And so now I guess you're going to talk about the lymph system and all the goodies there.
All the bits and pieces. Yeah. So we're going to kind of move from the capillary beds through the vessels into the nodes and the ducts. So what does that kind of flow look like? So I was just talking about this with my husband last night. It's just so fascinating the way the lymph system works. It hangs out in the capillary beds with your blood capillaries, and that's where all of your interstitial fluid is, right? And one of the big things that the lymphatic system does is helps to regulate the pressure in the body. So imagine that you have excess fluid building up in these interstitial spaces in the body. The lymph system is this highly porous capillary that will absorb that excess fluid and move it through the lymphatic system, processing it as it goes. So here you have a capillary bed, you have your blood capillary here that's like leaking its nutrients and oxygen into these tissues. And then of course you have cell waste and just extra fluid that's going into this one epithelial cell thick wall or lining that is the lymphatic capillary. So you see the fluid getting absorbed there. There's a closer look here of what that looks like. Just a really thin layer, pretty fascinating. And this is, we talked about this last month with the kidneys too. At all of these capillary sites where there's fluid exchange, you're always going to find this thin lining of epithelial tissue that is just permeable, not super permeable. You can't get large things through there like blood cells necessarily, but you can get all of this interstitial fluid and cellular waste that gets brought into lymphatic circulation. And so lymph fluid itself, what is it? It is a mixture of about 90% water, 10% solutes, such as proteins, cellular waste products, dissolved gases, and hormones. And it can also contain bacterial cells that are picked up from diseased tissues and the white blood cells that fight these pathogens. So yeah, that's pretty amazing what it's doing there. Thank you, lymph. The lymph does not have a pump. We're going to talk about this more later with the therapeutics of the lymph and how to support this, but just like all of your venous blood that's returning to the heart, especially from your extremities, your arms and your legs, there is no pump in those vessels that are moving lymph and blood back to the heart, okay? So there's just these valves. And so you have to have something moving or pumping, and the pumping is exercise, or the pumping is walking, standing up. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, if you have a desk job, you will be needing to make sure to get up and move your body, stretch and walk. Even just walking, that action alone is enough to flex those muscles, to kind of push that lymphatic fluid up and up through these valves. The lymphatic fluid comes up through the valve. The pressure from your muscle squeezing on the vessel is what pushes and opens this valve so the lymph fluid can go into the next chamber. And then that valve closes shut behind the lymphatic fluid that's moving up so that it can't go backwards. Okay? So skeletal smooth muscle contractions is a really big thing here. And I think the biggest takeaway with the vessels is that there is no pump. And so we're now going to go back to Jenn. She's going to talk about nodes.
Yep. It really is kind of cool how it's the lymph, it's one directional because of those valves, kind of like the heart, they open and close. It's only flows a particular way. So that was one part I found fascinating with the lymph vessels.
I know, so amazing.
I go next to my next thing, my slide, my lymphatic nodes. All right. So our lymph nodes are our septic tanks. All right. Yep. Yeah, Colleen's,
We're finding them.
Yep. And everybody's probably trying to find theirs now.
Yeah,
okay, so these guys, these guys filter, neutralize, and destroy pathogens, and they have their own own filter, a fibrin net that is that filter for lymph cells. And these nodes vary in size, and they contain lymphocytes, neutrophils, plasma cells, macrophages, antigens, and antibody molecules, and you can probably see why stagnant lymph. Yep. And this is why it is so important to keep lymph flowing, and why stagnant lymph if that flow is not going too well, it's just getting bogged down and overburdened. And then this is all just bogging down these septic tanks and overflowing. You can see how this this enlargement can be problematic. So we'll go on to the next one. So where are a lot of these nodes located? And we have basically, as Colleen was just showing, you have the cervical nodes, you have axillary nodes in the armpits, you have the inguinal nodes down in the groin area, and then you also have the mediastinal nodes as well. And one thing I wanted to talk about too, since we just talked about lymph fluid and we put all of it together with the vessels, is really just take a moment to visualize how the lymph and the blood, the two fluids, we always hear Dr. Morse talking about, how they really work together, because we got to understand this relationship for the purpose of detoxification and understanding the root cause of our problems. So even right here, right now, picture this: your heart's pumping blood. It's under quite a bit of pressure because it has to get to all the blood vessels of the body and then get to these little capillaries that are in the tissues. And what that fluid Colleen was talking about that's pushed out of these capillaries into these interstitial spaces is blood plasma. And this is what nourishes the surrounding cells, what your cells need for that energy to keep them going. And what's left is lymph. And these cells that have received what they need to, they metabolize these elements. And that's taken up by the lymph system capillaries. These are the wastes. And these lymph vessels, they carry, I keep hitting this, I'm sorry. The lymph vessels
Do it all the time.
pass through the lymph nodes to these, remember those little fibrin nets, these filters to filter the waste. So the lymph is still carrying these wastes, but to maintain that fluid balance, this is where the relationship with the blood and the circulatory system comes in. To maintain that fluid balance in the body, a certain amount, this filtered lymph does go back into circulation, and then the process of elimination continues. So, but where on earth does this re-enter the blood? Okay, and it has to re-enter the blood through the veins, where the pressure is so much lower. And as Colleen's showing you on the slide, it's in the subclavian vein, sub meaning below and beneath the clavicle. And they enter, yeah, and they enter through areas called ducts. And pardon me if I mispronounce this word. It's not the quack duck, it's a duct. And it's one of those words I have trouble saying.
The Floridian dialect, I guess.
It is. It's got to be that southern thing. There are two lymphatic ducts. The right lymphatic duct empties everything from the upper right torso, the right side of the head, the right arm, like you see in that shaded green area, and the larger thoracic duct begins in the abdomen, empties the lymph pretty much from the entire rest of the body. Basically receives lymph vessels from the lower extremities, the pelvic area, the stomach, the intestines, picks it up from the ribs, the subclavian vein area on the left side. So it really just drains that whole left side, everything that's not shaded. Oh yeah, totally. So you can see why this is very, very important in keeping it flowing through your lymph nodes, keeping those, free from obstruction. And then the cisterna chyli is the start of the thoracic duct, and that's the duct, and it's in a dilated lymph channel. So to bring this all together, as far as detoxification and elimination, basically unwanted organisms enter the body in various ways: through our respiratory tract, from the air we breathe, through the digestive tract on the food we eat, so clean your food, and into the bloodstream from breaks in the skin. And the lymph is there to absorb, scan, neutralize, and remove the cellular waste before it can cause us any harm. And it does this constantly. It's doing it right now, and that's pretty darn amazing. This system is so intricate and efficient. And at this point, it's probably pretty obvious as to why moving lymph as part of detoxification is so important. And we're going to show you how to build this into any protocol using common lymph issues as examples. So here we go.
Yeah.
Protocol
And
time.
I think one thing I just want to say is that there's no localized place where this is happening. I mean, we have the nodes in localized areas, but lymphatic and capillary beds are everywhere in the body. Everywhere that you feel like the fluid that is under your skin, all of that is going to have capillary beds. Like, so they're just everywhere. It's just this cobwebs inside of you that are constantly absorbing fluid and moving it. So it's why it's so good to stay juicy. And then we talk about acidosis as being that big buildup that happens in these interstitial spaces, and the thing that we're really targeting with a lot of these protocols. Yeah, so now we're going to switch gears, go away from the anatomy and physiology. Oh, sorry, we won't have any time for you to really digest any of that. We're just going to keep on going. So you can always refer back to these slides later. And let's see. So we're going to do 4 different protocols that are all here to support the lymphatic system based on specific imbalances. And we're just going to talk about how we have always been doing it here at Dr. Morse's, how Dr. Morse does it himself, where we're combining a bunch of formulas and a bunch of herbs to support not only the lymphatic system, but getting that lymph to move itself all the way out of the body so that we can really detoxify the lymphatic system, the kidneys, and all of that. So Jenn's going to really bring home this picture of how to do that with these different protocols. So we're going to start with general maintenance.
All right. And yeah, so spring, cleaning, getting started, especially if you haven't already begun. That's for some people, that's the hard part. So suggestion, take a look, with me included, take a look at your patterns, see what you're bringing into your body for fuel first. You really want the foods that your body can easily use, those fruits and veggies that are pure energy. And then as far as herbs, let's say you have maybe no specific health concerns. Maybe you're in between herbal protocols, or you just wanted to get started with a cleanse somehow, see how your body responds, you know you need to start somewhere. So this general maintenance protocol is a good way to spring your lymph system, see what I did there, into action and get you cleansing. I couldn't resist. I had to throw that in there somewhere.
So good.
All right. Yep. So now, when selecting herbal formulas, we're going to take a look at a table here. You'll always want to make sure you have a kidneys and bladder formula and a lymph drainage formula. And the two formulas we have here are the kidney and bladder and lymph drainage daily, because they're excellent starting points for daily support. They gently hydrate and support the pathways for improved flow, lymph flow and kidney filtration. The Ultimate Immune is an excellent daily support for the immune system to just really strengthen and build it over time, a healthier immune response. And again, remember, supporting your immune system also means supporting your bones because of the bone marrow where the immune cells are produced. And then, of course, we have Old Faithful, the Heal Tea, because this tea is so versatile. It can be added to any protocol because it supports all of the body's eliminatory channels.
That's
and
right.
I know Colleen's going to talk about some specific reasons why we have these formulas and some herbs in some of these formulas too.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so the general maintenance formulas for all of you out there that are thinking, I just want to support my lymph. Sounds like a really important system. And you wouldn't be wrong. It's a really good one to just kind of give a daily tonic formula to. And so these are all daily formulas. Some of them contain adaptogens. We're going to meet those in just a moment. And so, yeah, this is just wake up in the morning, I'm feeling good, and I want to give myself a little bit of support, keep those channels flowing. Then this would be the perfect protocol for you. Jen really went really well into the specifics on why each of them. I love that we threw Ultimate Immune in here because it's got all these great adaptogen herbs in it, and it's not for acute immune imbalances. It's for just general immune support. So we're building up the immune system over time, and the immune system is, all those immune cells, and the lymphatic system is a big part of that. So that's a big reason why I think it's a great formula to combine with all these great detoxifying formulas. So let's meet some herbs. Yeah. We've got Cleavers here, and it's Cleaver season. And oh man, I meant to go grab some from my garden before this webinar started so I could show you all, because it's just out there right now. So if you are living anywhere temperate and you don't have snow anymore, and even if you're just having snow melt, my guess is that you're starting to have your Cleavers pop up and they're starting to really show themselves. At first, they're just these little cute plants that are kind of this big and just starting to come up. Eventually they end up blanketing your entire garden if you don't take them out. They have very gentle little runners. They're very easy to pull up. And this is an amazing herb this time of year to utilize as a fresh spring tonic herb. You want to use it. I love using it fresh. You don't have to, but I love using it fresh and I love juicing it. So you just go into your garden and you're weeding anyway. So weed out all this Cleavers and throw it in your juicer and drink that juice. And you can also save the juice in ice cube trays for when Cleavers are no longer in season, because they have a really short season. And they are specifically wonderful because they're very high in minerals, which we talked about how important mineral-rich herbs are for kidney bladder homeostasis last month, but also Cleavers has a great affinity for the lymphatic system. And I like to think of the doctrine of signatures here. If you're familiar with that, it's kind of how nature emulates the body by signs in nature, like violet leaves are shaped like hearts, and they're really good for this kind of heart lymphatic zone. Another great lymph herb, violet. Anyway, so Cleavers has these little hooks. When you take a Cleavers plant and you put it on your clothes, it just stays there. It just cleaves to you like a little sloth. And
yes.
Yeah, so you'll know Cleavers when you walk through a Cleavers patch. It's going to be all over your socks and shoes too, and it won't let go. But actually, no, you can take it off really gently. It's this kind of gentle little hooks that are all over the Cleavers leaves and stem. And the way I think of that as the doctrine of signatures is those little hooks are like little hair fibers. And I think of them kind of gently supporting the unclogging of the lymphatic vessels and restoring that lymphatic flow. And so, yeah, we have Cleavers in a lot of our formulas. Dr. Morse loves Cleavers. It's in lymphatic drainage daily, adrenal support, kidney and bladder daily, and kidney and bladder hydrate. And Astragalus, this is that adaptogen herb I wanted to talk about that's in our Ultimate Immune Tonic formula. Astragalus is in the pea family, so you can see by the structure of the leaf here, if you've ever grown peas, anything bean related, you're gonna see that it's in that same family. It's called yellow leader in traditional Chinese medicine. It's a very common herb. It's really well loved, well-researched herb in traditional Chinese medicine. It's called yellow leader, not only because it is a yellow root, but because it is the leader of all tonic herbs, so they say. And it has an affinity for the lungs, the respiratory tract, as a respiratory tonic herb, and as an adaptogen with its saponin content. So that's promoting healthy stress response. And it also helps to support some respiratory expectoration, right? So helping to kind of get things out. It's written that Astragalus replenishes the 3 portions of the body cavity and reinforces the body's resistance to external evils. So yeah, it's a really great herb to take daily. I know, right? That's traditional Chinese medicine. There's so much more going on and so much more kind of energetic ways of talking about the body with traditional Chinese medicine, which are very fascinating. So with that affinity for the lung, I really find that it's really wonderful to have Astragalus in a tonic formula for supporting the detoxification of the body and the lymph, because it's opening a 3rd detox channel, right? It's opening the respiratory channel, which is actually one of our primary organs of elimination. We eliminate through breath, and we also eliminate through mucus.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So yeah, we love it. I just got over a really intense sinus respiratory infection, and I'm like still coughing up. Not that you need to know, but it's been a process, let's just say.
Oh no, we love the colors and everything you can share.
All the colors. Oh man. So I wish I had more time to tell you all about it. Okay, so now we're going into our next protocol. So this is getting away from general maintenance into some of these imbalances that you might find in the lymphatic system.
Yep. So we all have some degree of lymph stagnancy or stagnant lymph. And well, what do we mean by that? All right. So ideally in a healthy state, lymph fluid flows freely through the vessels from one lymph node to another. No obstructions, just perfect. Elimination through the elimination pathways is optimal at that point. So when it does become obstructed or sluggish and toxins build up and fluid is retained, that's a problem. Our immune system is, kind of sluggish, compromised, and a variety of symptoms can result. And that's the body telling you something's wrong. So we want to promote healthy lymph flow. That's important at any stage. So if you've started working with a general protocol and you've begun to cleanse and you want to move deeper and you're beginning to identify, your degree of stagnancy, you really want to start addressing these signs before they present a problem. So diet, of course, alkaline, fresh fruits and veggies, but then we've got some herbal formula recommendations that can help, get this lymph moving a little bit more and support continued lymph flow. So as far as that protocol, that even if you just decide to get started with this one instead of general maintenance, or if you want to keep going to inspire.
Yeah, I was thinking that, Jen, because I was thinking, we're moving out of the winter and there's just that general theme of stagnancy with winter. I think this is a great protocol for just kind of getting things moving.
Yeah, exactly. When you're feeling stuck, basically. Yeah. And maybe you're still in a cold climate and you just still, you want to feel like you're moving forward, regardless. So this is a good protocol for that.
We see you.
You've got, yeah, exactly. So even if spring hasn't found you yet, you can start doing that spring cleaning with yourself, and you can do that through the kidney and bladder drain to really make sure that support that kidney function to properly drain the fluid from the body. The lymph drainage gentle is shown here, but you really choose the correct lymph formula for your situation. As long as you have at least one kidney and bladder formula, you can, a suggestion we often make for customers, or you can see it in the kits, rotate the lymph drainage formulas each month. You can take breaks if needed, commit to certain time frames. Nothing wrong with that. Just make sure you always have the kidney and bladder formula. But to continue with this protocol, add in also the liver skin. You have that liver skin connection for elimination, and it just adds additional support for lymph flow in the GI tract and the immune system. And then, as we discussed before, that connection of the blood to the lymph and how they work together, those two fluids. So blood circulation to support not only healthy blood flow, but healthy immune response. The blood carries white blood cells and antibodies that help fight infection, and you've got a certain fluid balance you got to maintain too. So that rounds out this protocol. And like you said, it's a good one to just jumpstart with too.
Yeah, and it's actually a couple of formulas here from kidney stagnation. We talked about this lax, sluggish kidneys last month and how they can sometimes get backed up. And guess what? We had kidney bladder drain and lymphatic drainage gentle mover as the two formulas that we recommended there as well. So a lot of similar themes coming up here, just constantly supporting that flow, that eliminatory flow. And we add in liver skin because that's a third eliminatory pathway as well. That's the liver to skin eliminatory pathway. It's a big one. And it's also what we call the skin is our third kidney. So it's taking a little bit of the load off of the kidneys and also supporting kind of that detoxification through the GI tract, just getting everything moving. That's kind of the idea with this protocol. Blood circulation, we're going to meet a couple of really great, we're going to meet one great herb in that protocol that's just all about warming you up, getting those pungent herbs in this formula or in this protocol. I really wanted to add blood circulation so that we had some warming herbs that will help to kind of deliver all of the other herbal constituents to their associated and affiliated organs. Yes. So let's look at the herbs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like this one.
Me too. Red clover. Seriously, it's so great as a tea, just sipping on red clover tea. And I would like to point out right here how, I mean, red clover grows everywhere. It's a cover crop. It's really good at fixing nitrogen into the soil. So it's delivering nutrients into the soil in that way. But if you're wondering if you have red clover growing in your yard, just look for that white milky V on each of the leaves. That's a really good indication that you've found red clover. And so you would do leaf and flower here and just pop those off and either make a fresh tisane, which is a fresh tea, or dry it and save it for later. Really great, really high in minerals again. And really the flavones here is kind of the big one that we look at with red clover and why it's so awesome. It's a gentle tonic for the lymphatic system. And what is it really doing here? There's a lot of cool studies on red clover and how that coumarin content binds to proteins in the interstitial fluid and increases waste clearance by macrophages. Something about how it, I heard once from a great herbalist, Guido Massé, that it kind of lights up these waste products and proteins so the macrophages can see them, eat more easily and eat them. So that's because macrophages, you know, are those ones that kind of like engulf foreign invaders.
Pac-Man of the immune system.
Yeah. The Pac-Man of the immune system. Exactly. Yes, that's right. So that's how I always think of them. So rather than moving the lymph, what the coumarin flavones seem to be doing is making it clearer so that the fluid can be reabsorbed into systemic circulation more effectively. So yeah, really lovely. It's in lymph drainage, gentle and moderate mover in chem metal detox and blood support. And like I said, just drink it as a tea. So here we have one of the most gentle, tonic, drink it every day lymphatic herbs. And now I'll introduce you to pokeweed, which is the super intense, highly toxic herb that is really awesome that Dr. Morse has formulated into his products. I always give him so much credit for adding poke root to stuff because it shows his skill as a practitioner because not everyone messes with poke since it is so toxic. So here's the picture with poke. It's a very toxic herb. You wouldn't want to come up to this herb and harvest it and eat it. Although in the South, there is something called poke salad and people do eat poke, but listen to what I have to say next. You have to blanch it like 5 to 7 times in order to eat the leaves. So you're constantly boiling it and you have to throw that water out each time in order to strip it of all of the toxic components before it's edible. So is it worth it? Probably not, but it is an interesting staple. And I mean, it grows like a crazy weed. Jen was just talking about how, you know, the birds eat the berries and they poop all over her car and it's just like purple poo everywhere. Everywhere. So guess what? They get your eliminatory channels really moving. And if you were to accidentally take too much poke, you would know it. It's an emetic. You just have liquids coming out of every orifice, basically. And that is not a good thing. We don't want that. But in the doses that it's in these formulas, it's just enough so that it's a pusher. And so I wrote this here and I'm going to just read this. So poke is an herb that supports lymph flow in a way that no other herb can. It's excellent for moving stubborn stagnation that nothing else seems to touch. So that's the way I think of poke. And again, it's in a couple of our formulas. It's in drainage gentle and moderate and super mover. So everything but the daily. And keep that in mind when you're rotating through these formulas, that daily is really a good one for the long term. And it's always good to come back to daily and just do stints of these other ones that contain the poke root. You don't want to, I wouldn't suggest that you be on any of the moderate to super movers long term. They're for short term use to really do what this is doing, to really kind of get that stubborn stagnation moving. Okay.
Yeah. And that drives home it's not something we want to do forever. You're cleansing. It's short,
Yeah,
intermittent,
totally.
things. It's not a treatment
Exactly.
mentality. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
nope, that really drives that home too.
I honestly don't do anything every single day of my life, and I've heard instances in herbalism where someone who took a seemingly benign herb but did it every single day of their life ended up being hurt by it. So I all am about everything in moderation and keeping your intake of supplements diversified, because there's so many great herbs out there that support these systems. So
Yep. And you're changing and cleansing always. So
yeah, right. Okay, so prickly ash is the last one here. This is the one that's in blood circulation, and I love, love, love it. And it's in a lot of formulas you're going to see across the supplement industry because it's such a warming, pungent herb. And the way that herbalists like to work with pungent herbs is they call them catalysts. They add them to many different formulas as a way to get your heart pumping, get your blood moving, and deliver. It's a delivery system. It's really good at delivering all of the other herbs in the formula to their affiliated organs or body systems. So what's really cool, it is kind of like a peppercorn. In fact, some prickly ash in the South is sometimes used as an alternate to pink peppercorn. So it can be used in that way. And it's both the peppercorn or the berry and the bark that are used in this way. So it promotes general perspiration, invigorates the stomach, and strengthens the digestive organs when slow, which permits unwanted sluggish fermentation, at the same time equalizing circulation. I love the way that's written. Okay. And without further ado, so let's put a cap on that, put a bow on it, let's say. So that's your sluggish lymph or stagnant lymph protocol, and on to the next.
Yep. So maintaining healthy inflammatory levels. What do we mean by that?
What are we trying to say, but we can't say?
Yeah, what are we trying to say, but we can't say? Okay, this means supporting a healthy immune response. But we're going to be talking more about chronic here, because in acute situations, there's a natural response to bacteria and infection and inflammation, but chronic systemic imbalances lead to a much greater variety of problems and sensitivities that can be uncomfortable, and you feel them through the body over time. They're just building in their intensity and complexity. And as you know, they don't just appear. They build with time as lymph stagnation persists, as that lymph system and nodes get bogged down, and then your elimination is compromised further. So in this case, again, and you can probably see the trend that we're kind of building from general maintenance to a little bit more with each protocol. Okay, now we're into some chronic situations here. What kind of a protocol would you begin building with at this stage? All right, so you got to do this long term. So what does that look like?
Yeah,
all right, so aside from diet,
about the other day, we were talking about how stagnancy is kind of a precursor to this more chronic state.
Yes.
And so maybe you're still in the stagnancy stage, you would stay with that last protocol. Maybe you're like, oh, I missed my chance. Now everything's kind of going into this more chronic expression. This would be the protocol for you.
Yep, absolutely. And it's still, we can't drive home the idea of diet, too much. It's honestly very, the number one thing. But as far as the protocol, I mean, again, you're going to see that kidney and bladder formula. And we listed here either the hydrate or restore, because these are excellent to soothe and hydrate the urinary tract, especially while you're still working on cleaning your diet, moving your lymph, and trying to open those elimination pathways, or really you make them more efficient. And then the lymph drainage moderate is suggested to get that lymph flowing, really support that healthy flow and the immune response. And then you might think we're a little weird, but the healthy joints, it's more than just supporting joints. It's just an overall, supportive formula for improving those inflammatory levels, those healthy levels associated with systemic acidosis. And then the endocrine formula.
Nice.
The endocrine daily is recommended, because, your immune system is receptive to signals from other systems, including the endocrine system, because your immune cells have hormone receptors. So we want to make sure we're supporting the endocrine system as well.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well said. I don't want to say too much about it because I'm looking at the time and thinking, okay, we should probably speed up a little bit. So
okay, cool.
So let's
Done.
talk about the herbs. We've got Mullen, and that is in lymphatic gentle mover, heal all, caps, eye health, GI loose, GI daily, lung detox. This is all about the mucilage plus the tannins. I've talked about this with y'all before. The mucilage is slimy and slippery. It's really good at gently kind of washing over the tissues in the body. It's really great and supportive for the kidney and the bladder, and also ends up in those interstitial spaces. So it can end up in lymphatic flow. And so really kind of bringing in that mucilage piece, but also Mullen contains a lot of tannins. So I call it a mucomodulator, or it is called a mucomodulator in the world of herbal actions. And so when you really think, we talked about that last month with marshmallow. So these are really good at supporting healthy tissue function. And by nature, that supports those healthy inflammatory levels, right? Because you're talking about tissue that needs to be kind of calmed and cooled, red, irritated stuff. That's kind of, this is a really good herb for just kind of soothing all of that and bringing it back into balance. And then along with that, turmeric. So that's the one that's in healthy joints. And I really wanted to include the healthy joints formula in this protocol, since we're talking about healthy inflammatory levels, because as we all know, turmeric is one of the best herbs for that. And it's in our healthy joint formula, along with meadowsweet, which is another great herb to support healthy inflammatory levels. So yes, indications. It's warming. It has stimulating in nature. It's traditional herbalists use it to invigorate the blood, move qi, clear phlegm, and support the flow of blood in the heart channel. Those curcuminoids, which are those bright orange, amazing constituents, have been found to support healthy inflammatory levels and the activity of immune cells, including T cells, B cells, macrophages, and natural killer cells, thereby strengthening the body's defense against foreign invaders. I can't say it any better than that. And wherever you live, you can actually grow turmeric as long as you've got some pots in a greenhouse. It normally likes really warm climates native to India and Indonesia, but you can successfully grow turmeric if you have a nice warm greenhouse. And that would be a fun thing to do. All right.
I have to give that a try.
Yeah.
All right. So
on to the next.
Yeah, so going from chronic to immune imbalance, which is going to address more of the acute immune responses that we are dealing with, because every day we're exposed to toxicity, bacteria, chemicals, it's just everywhere. So, and many of you probably, like Colleen was saying earlier, dealt with the sniffles and that head and nastiness, expectoration of mucus. So the following protocol is designed for you to support your immune system and elimination pathways, just to help you, in these moments, these natural, responses without suppressing what you need to go through. So we'll just, if you're in the middle of a cleanse or just, want to have this on hand, definitely let's get to the protocol so they can see.
I love that, because when you're feeling crummy, the last thing you want to do is try to remember all the things you're supposed to do to make yourself feel better. And so just have this in a little Ziploc in your cabinet, like, oh, this is for immune imbalances. I can start taking it.
Yeah, this is my little acute cluster. This is mine.
Nice.
So we've got the lymph super mover here, because it can really rally your immune system into action. And help support the body's efforts to eliminate through the fluids like lymph, urine, and your number 2. And the kidney and bladder formula, always needed, drains recommended here again for draining, and its diuretic action to remove all this junk, in times of that immune imbalance. And then the fire cider, if you haven't tried this or even tried to make your own, you really got to give this one a go. It really activates the immune response and support flow. And then again, we got the bone and connective tissue because of the red bone marrow and its role in the immune system. And then the parasite microbe brings it home, because that just promotes the removal of unwanted organisms. So it's supportive to all these other formulas in this protocol.
Bug killers, a bunch of bug killers. I probably shouldn't say that, but Okay.
Oh, no, that's what it is.
How can I say it? Okay, great. So yes, immune imbalances. This is when you're starting to feel funky. So Echinacea, which is in lymphatic drainage daily, lymphatic drainage super mover, and metal detox, is just a really incredible herb that's native to the plains region of the United States, so the eastern United States, kind of like the eastern middle. And indigenous folks from the plain states first introduced this herbs to European settlers, and it basically took the world by storm. It's got a really interesting chemistry to it that's really really wonderfully activating and also supportive to the immune system. It's both an immunomodulator, which is something that you take to support the immune system when you're feeling good. And it also has a bunch of chemistry that is immunostimulating. So it really helps to kind of support the activation of the immune system when you start feeling crummy. So the polysaccharides, specifically inulin, and a bunch of actually other polysaccharides, those starches, we've talked about them before, really nourishing to the body and really good at building the immune system. And then the alchemides are those activating, tingly constituents. If you're familiar with spilanthes, it's the same chemical, alchemide, that's in spilanthes is in echinacea. So when you take echinacea by itself, you can feel this tingly feeling on your tongue. And a lot of traditional herbalists believe that it's just that mild irritation alone as it runs and washes over that lymphatic tissue that is your tonsils, that's just waking up the immune system, like, whoa, something's going on, activate immunity, send out the troops. So echinacea is great for that. The whole plant can be used, but it's most concentrated in the root. And then garlic. So big plug for the Firesider. It's a very new formula to the Dr. Morse family, and it's not necessarily a detoxification formula. It's really specific to immune activation, supporting the immune system, especially when the body starts giving you those telltale signs that indicate that you may be falling out of balance, like a tickle in the throat, lymphatic irritation, a change in even a change in the temperature of your urine can be an indicator that you might be fighting something. And that's when Firesider, it's like time to go. It's got an apple cider vinegar base, which I know is not really supported as much in the Dr. Morse historically, but it is acidic and it is really full of minerals, and definitely has a really interesting place, especially when we're just talking about acute immune imbalance. So the allicin, so garlic is one of the primary herbs in Firesider, and the allicin is really this constituent that has the most amazing research that's looked into it. And allicin is a sulfur-containing compound with antimicrobial properties. This is a link to a study that I can actually add to the chat if you give me just a moment. I found this study to be so interesting. So let's see if I can give it to you here.
See if it goes.
I have to do this first.
It's a nice picture of garlic. I will say that.
It is, yeah. I know, I wanted to make sure I showed the whole plant. There we go. Okay, so this is a study that I found on garlic, and basically allicin, which this active constituent, you have to actually crush, chop, or mince garlic to activate the allicin, and then keep it away from heat for 10 minutes. And during this time, the maximum allicin is created and will stay intact during the cooking process. So keep that in mind when you're working with garlic and using it kind of for its therapeutic properties in food, because culinary herbalism is a total thing. And so one of the study that I just dropped in the chat is all about how allicin is actually being found to, it's being identified as a potential adjunct antimicrobial agent to overcome the problem of rising antimicrobial resistance. This is, we're talking allopathic medicine here. We're talking pharmaceuticals. Allicin in this study shows a great chart of all the different forms of garlic, oil, essential oil, extract, and synthetic garlic, whatever that is, all working to demonstrated the ability to enhance the antimicrobial properties of other substances like pharmaceutical medications, and when in combinations with these substances. So pretty fascinating study. Definitely take a look at it, and just more power to these culinary herbs like garlic that are easy to grow. In fact, it's probably time to harvest your garlic right about now because it's a winter crop. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and we're going to move into our immune therapeutics because we have 4 minutes to cover all of this. Let's see if we can do it.
That's all right. We'll shift from, culinary herbalism to fasting.
Great. Good one.
Yes. So fasting is part of a cleanse for detoxification. It's a good way to dig deeper into the tissues to promote that elimination of acids and toxins. And committing to a fast during a cleanse or just periodically through the year, strategically, however you'd like to do it, it just really promotes some good self-discipline and inspires positive changes in your diet. And even the mental, emotional, and spiritual benefits for fasting, they're also experienced as you become more connected with your body. You really begin to detach from the noise of daily life, reflect, and you work through obstructions that are not necessarily physical, like fear or doubt that can, really,
Mm-hmm.
that can hinder your cleansing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just briefly going to go through the different types of fasts and a few examples, and then give you a couple recipes. So different fasts, you have the intuitive fasting. That's like when you feel ill or out of sorts, you just, that instinct takes over to, rest and recover. And you might just naturally limit yourself to fruit juices, herbal teas, liquids only during this period. I mean, you're just instinctively responding to the signals your body's giving you. And then we have the conscious fasting, like what we do during detoxification and cleansing. It's a choice. And we do recommend this as part of detoxification. For many, just switching to that all raw 100% living food diet is, a fast on its own. And if you've done this, you know how cleansing and energizing it can be. But you can also go beyond that and eat all fruit or go strictly with juice fasting. People will water fast, and it's not something we necessarily recommend all the time. We like to stick with the cleansing and energizing recommendation of fruits or fasting. And water fasting is not really indicated for everybody. Some people might need to, especially if they're advanced tissue weakness or a little bit more depleted, they probably need to spend some time building themselves up energy-wise with the fruits and the raw foods. So just take that into consideration, have some guidance when you're water fasting. But that would be the next thing is, so when should you fast? And this is probably something that's best answered on your own. You're going to be developing some self-discipline if you're just starting out, and you could just jump to the fasting right away. But some people need to just conquer that 100% raw first. So, and if you're doing that, fine, go for it. That's challenging enough. And then you can challenge yourself to a day or two of all fruit each week, or a few times a month, or just once a month. And then when you get to that point, you want to do some extended fasting. Just maybe start by committing to a reasonable period of time for yourself. Say, 1 day or 3 days, depending on your lifestyle. If you have a particularly laborious job, you may want to
12
just
hours.
figure out. Yeah, exactly. Out in the
All
heat,
depends.
construction, you gotta really, use your intuition, know your body. So some people will, start with 3 days and then they can go to 10, 21 or beyond that. They just feel great. So when do you break it? Probably when you start to get hungry again, and not when you're, like, I gotta have a cookie. No, it's not, that's not the right time to break your fast. You've got to, and usually those cravings will begin to subside once you have been on the fast for a while. But just really, once you feel hungry again, probably, or you just, it's time, just plan on breaking your fast and do it the right way, especially with juice and water fasts. You need to break them with fruit only. For every 3 days of fasting, you need a full day of just fruit. It gives the GI tract time to acclimate to the changes in the diet again. And a couple of these fasts.
What are you putting into your body?
Yep, exactly. Fasting will reveal plenty of that. And many of you have seen the handouts on the website, but the Great Fast and the Lemonade Fast. And Lemonade Fast is the original Master Cleanse by Stanley Burroughs. That's where this recipe comes from on the screen. I don't have a copy of that book to hold up. I think I left it at the office, and Hurricane Ian took care of that. I did find a copy on archive.org, and you can find them just about anywhere. But the Great Fast, that's the Great Cure by Joanna Brandt. I can't hold it up in front of the camera, right, because I'm just awkward. But I think Stephanie has the information in the chat. But really, the recipes are on screen. When you're fasting, just fast on these only. Yes, you can take your herbs, but no other, food or drink necessarily. Just make sure you're drinking plenty of that to stay hydrated as well, and give yourself the fuel your body needs, your cells need. And, that will help move lymph, but then Colleen's got a few other things that will help move lymph too.
We'll just really breeze through these because we're at time, but we talked about movement. Your lymph system doesn't have a pump, so figure out what that is for you. If you sit at a desk all day, get a standing desk so you can stand up, take a walk. It's important anyways to do these things for our health and wellness. So move, move, move. And then leg elevation is one of my personal favorites. I also have, some venous blockage, congestion stuff that runs in my family. So I ensure that I'm doing at least once a week. I go to my local gym in the sauna and I just do a 90-degree leg elevation to help to drain the legs of lymph and blood. You can bring a Gacha tool while you're doing that. And this is a traditional Chinese medicine tool that you can easily find on the internet now because it's a very popular, hip thing that's now very, very trendy. But any tool, it could be stone, wood, plastic, and you just move it at a 45-degree angle away from the body and always moving towards those ducts, right? Those ducts that are helping to move all the lymph back into primary circulation. And then there's thymus tapping. The thymus gland is situated in the upper part of the chest, just behind the breastbone, between the lungs. And it stimulates energy, boosts the immune system, increases the strength and vitality of the body. And generally, tapping the thymus gland creates vibrations that stimulate an increase in the maturation and release of white blood cells. Okay, and so now the moment you've all been waiting for, your coupon code, LymphLove20. So there's a couple different options today for how to purchase these protocols. You can either go to our collections page, which is going to have these individual SKUs all ready to go, or products, and then you can also check out the individual bundle pages. So I'm going to be putting another link in the chat right now, and this is going to be all of those links. It's going to start with the collections link, and then it's going to show you all the different protocols we just talked about and direct links to all of those bundles. But also the way that Devin set this up, because he's a genius, is that when you go to the collections page, the very top row is all the different protocols bundled and ready to go for you. So essentially with anything that you purchase on that collections page, whether it's a bundle or an individual product, when you go to checkout, you use that code LymphLove20 and you'll get 20% off your entire order. So that's pretty epic. And you have until this Friday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. And Jen, anything else you have to say?
No, just I'm so glad everybody stuck with us this long. So thank you, everyone. I hope it was helpful.
Spending your Wednesday with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Until next time, remember every day is an opportunity to nurture your body, mind, and spirit. And thanks for tuning in to Detox Digest with Dr. Morse's Healing Herbs. We hope to see you next month for the digestive system. Until then, take care.
Yep. Bye, everyone.